As we're going to dive into the weekly forecast and all the pairs that we're looking to trade at the start of the week, at the middle of the week, and also at the end of the week. So we're going to get started, work our way down for the top. We're starting off with GBP USD. And we're just going to break down exactly what we're looking for in this coming week. Now, obviously, we are predominantly bullish, right? We're moving up in an uptrend. We're creating higher highs, higher lows, but what's just happened is we've broke this short-term support zone that was a trend line, and now we're coming back down out of it, pulling back up in towards it, and now, of course, we're starting to see that push away on Friday, right in line with the 50 EMA, right in line with this mini support zone that's been broken. So we could have a short-term sell. If we jump down to say even just the 4 hour to get a better picture, you can see it's rejecting the 50 EMA as well on the 4 hour, which is another great confluence. It's right in line with this, really a more accurate support zone to a more recent support zone would be this. So it's bouncing off this mini support zone that's now come back up, and it's going to be retested as resistance. So you could get a small sell trade. Let's see, a small sell trade. If you get an entry signal back down into this region here, which lines up nicely with the daily support and of course this daily trend line. So you could potentially have a short-term trade back down into this region around about 1.36100 and potentially get, you could, well, depending on what type of entry you get, you could, potentially looking at a 5 to 1 here, almost a 6 to 1. Like I said, depends on how well you're monitoring the charts and what type of entry signals that it gives you. So NZD-CHF, again, if we go back down up to the daily, you can see that we are predominantly bullish, right? We're in a clear uptrend. It started roughly on the 27th of October 2020, and then we are slowly but surely remaining in this bullish trend all the way to the 25th, 26th of March. And now that we're going to be starting a new week, we are expecting to see maybe small time support here. If we go down to the 1 hour, could potentially see some small time support in this area here, and then we would looking to take a position back up to these highs. So if we zoom in a little bit and get a better picture, this is roughly what we'd be looking at. We're looking for a little pullback, maybe a respect in this zone here, and then we could hover stop loss nicely behind, depending on what happens on the market open and how it reacts and how it starts to settle down. But we could have something along the lines of this. We could offer a nice 5 to 1 risk to reward, because remember, we are predominantly bullish. Although we are in a bearish trend short term right now, we are part of an overall bullish trend, so you want to make sure that your views are still in line with the overall trend. Now, this would have been a counter trend trade, but coming back into this zone is where you would like to think more buyers would start stepping in the market and continue the overall broad view. So EuroCAD, it's pretty obvious. We can see a double bottom here, and this is a massive, this yellow line's a massive weekly level. That seems to cause price action a problem every time it hits. So as you can see here, it's sort of like an indecisive day on Friday there. We've slowly started to come back in to this region here. So what I'd be looking for over this next coming week is obviously a buy position. I have a couple of levels to be aware of, maybe as more shorter term trades, just to take profit a bit quicker, and then of course we have longer term targets, but we're not going to get too much into them now. So if we go down to the hourly and we see what happens, let me zoom in. Yep, pretty much I would just be waiting to see how price action reacts in this region here. What's it going to be like when it gets to the support zone? Is it actually going to break this trend line, the short-term bearish trend line? And then we'd be looking to get in long positions, and a good couple too, because there's a lot of potential to go up from here, especially at this big massive weekly level, which looks like it's going to be playing out a double bottom. But again, we just want some further confirmation. We don't want to get caught out by trying to get in too early. So Euro Aussie, Again, just something really nice and simple. We've broken this. Of course, predominantly we are bullish, but we have broken this bearish trend quite early before actually getting to this bullish trend line on the weekly. If we go to the weekly, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. It's quite a well respected trend line, so it's obviously something we want to be taking note of. But nonetheless, it does look like that we are going to maybe even pop up just straight from here. But again, it's good to know all the different scenarios on every single pair, so you know if something doesn't work out, you could react with the method that you thought was going to happen simultaneously to the one that you originally thought of. So it's really good to just break down the pairs and make sure you know every single scenario. For me, this pair is going to be going further up, I reckon. So now I'm just going to be monitoring the 4 hour and the 1 hour, see if that is the case, because this whole piece of price action here could just be a fake out, and we could drop even past below here, and we could drop past below the double bottom that's been formed, of course, because this is the daily support zone. So again, there's nothing really immediate that I would take action on, but it's definitely something to watch for, and just knowing that we have all that going on in the higher time frame. So NZD, USD, this is a really nice trade that I think that we could get a potential short from, because obviously we've broken this long-term trend line. I think we are going to come back up into this region here, and that's when I would be looking to take a short position back down into this region here eventually, because of course we are respecting this very well. We are predominantly bullish, but this looks like we're just going to be able to capitalize on a counter trend trade back down into roughly 0.68 maybe a little bit higher actually, 0.6, say it's 0.6900 is probably a better gauge. So yep, that's what we're looking for. We're going down to the hourly. We'll be making sure that we get a good entry signal obviously before we take any trades, but I'll take a little bit of development. I reckon that'll could be ready by the end of Monday, Tuesday time, so keep an eye out on that. Euro USD, let's see what we have here. This is a really nice looking trade as well. It's got a descending wedge pattern in line with the overall bullish trend. So the fact that it's coming into two areas at really key levels of support could tell us that we are going to see a pop back up to where we started the descending wedge pattern. So again, that's another trade to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on these two zones here, because they're obviously really well respected areas in the market, and since price action is getting squeezed and we do hit these, it could be very probable that we are going to go back up to the top of here shorter term, and then we could start to break down where it's going to go thereafter. But Aussie USD, again, hopefully you can see on the bigger picture here, we are looking for a shorter term sell trade, because obviously it doesn't look big on the daily, but you can see that overall we are predominantly bullish. We'll be looking for buys when we get into this region here where it matches the trend line in these two double bottoms. But for now, because when you go down to the hourly price, you could definitely get quite a lot of trade for your money, especially when you zoom in on the hourly. You can see here this could potentially be a 6 to 1, a 5 to 1, or even a 4 to 1 at least, back down into this region here. So I'd just take it to the bottom of these lows, just before market gets into this area where there's going to be a lot of action. There's going to maybe be a couple of fake outs before we all predominantly are guessing that it's going to take off in a bullish fashion. But we're waiting on this pullback, and then once we get pulled back into this area, that's when we'll be looking to take a short position. And again, it just depends on the entry signals. It depends what kind of candles you're getting, and that will obviously depend on how well of a risk to reward you get in the market. So keep an eye on that. I'm seeing a pattern of a lot of counter trend trades available right now to the overall actual trend that most pairs are facing, whether it be bullish or bearish. But again, USD CAD, if we just go to the daily quickly, you'll be able to see. We are seeing this big daily momentum candle. This would have been on Tuesday. So as you can see here, as we've pushed down in line with the trend, counter trend has been very weak, which would suggest that we are going to get another strong push. And then obviously we had that candle on Friday that was just extremely indecisive, but we are nonetheless losing steam, trying to push back up, and then we're coming into a couple of key areas of resistance, meeting a trend line, and it fits in line with the overall trend. Plus we have just barely broken out this ascending channel here. So once it's broken this, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is legitimate right now, but if we do see a push down and then come back in to retest this, then of course we will be looking to take a short position, and I would probably, targets would be maybe somewhere down about this region in line with these two lows. So you are looking at a nice potentially 5.5 to 1, sorry, but again it depends on entry signals, but that of course is what we are looking at shorter term for USD CAD CHF. So this was just a really nice inverse head and shoulders that we found that was obviously broken above the neckline, this being the neckline. So it's broken above the neckline, come back in to retest this perfectly right in line with, in fact I'm going to put this down the bottom just so I know to pay attention to this, because this type of trade is pretty much ready. We're just waiting on an entry signal. You know, you've got the break of the neckline and the inverse head and shoulders, and now we're coming back in right in line with the 50 EMA on the 1 hour, and then of course we're waiting on a reversal signal. So again, that's something I'm going to be looking at as soon as the market opens. Euro GPY. Again, a bit of an odd one. We're in a overall ascending wedge pattern, so again, big long-term goal is that we are going to break out this and potentially have some movement downward, but right now we've seen a big bullish candle on Friday there, but shortly after we had massive push up and the rejection for the sellers. So it's not giving me too much confidence that the sellers are completely in control right now, even though we have broken out this small bullish trend line, sorry. So now that we're pushing back up into that trend line that seems to be respected perfectly, we could potentially come down further to meet this trend line, or we could come back slightly, use this little support zone on the hourly, and then move up higher, because of course, as you can see, it could come back in nicely in line with the 50 EMA and push up higher back into this zone at roughly the 130.000 handle, and then we'll just see what happens for there. But then I've not really gotten a 100% convinced bias on this. I'm just going to literally watch it, see what happens, and capitalize on it. That's pretty much it. Euro NZD, again another really nice trade. A really convincing break of this bearish trend line. Now we're coming back in line with the support zone in the daily 50 EMA, and then if we go down to the 1 hour, you can see all we're waiting on is a reaction for this zone, and I kind of want price action to push away, like be respectful like what's done here, because if it pushes up and comes straight back down, chances are it's no good. So if it sort of roundings off like this, and you see even just 3 or 4 candles rounding off, never mind 34, but 3 or 4 candles shows that the price has been respected once it's broken a previous zone that it was respecting. So now once we see price action do this, all we're waiting for is it to come back in, stall a little bit, come back up, do the same thing, so we know that this push away has definitely been respected and we do have the legs to go higher, and then this little support zone is probably where you'll be looking to take a trade back up. Potentially, I mean, the targets could start off at being at these highs here, around about these highs here. That would probably be the first target, and then the second target, I mean, you could go back up to where it really started, all the way up here. But again, I like to take profits and then see if I could get any other opportunities. I don't like to hold 2 positions for too long. I'll hold them for a couple of days, sometimes maybe. I avoid, if there's good profit there, I'll just take it 2 or 3 days max. I don't really like to hold them for a week or weeks on end. It just it's not the type of trading I like to do, because I do believe that once you do get breaks for these, if you know how to capitalise on all the opportunities and you're really good at getting in and out the market, then of course it could be more profitable for you. So 2 more pairs to go. Aussie CAD. Again, nice and simple. You can see what we're looking at here. We've had this nice push away for a big weekly level. It's coming back into a really nice daily support though. It's coming in line with this daily trend line. So what I'm anticipating is break, push, and then really just that simple back up to the top of here. But again, that's going to need a little bit of development. And NZD, GPY, again, another really nice and simple double top. Broken this previous, because we're in an ascending wedge right here, previous ascending wedge. So this tells me that this whole bit of price action here was just a fake out. We're coming back in nicely in line with this resistance zone, and I do think we are going to get something along the lines of this back down to then maybe see if we can find some more buyers, or we just crash through this, retest this area, and then come down lower. If we go to the weekly, you'll see how big a pattern this actually is, and this is on the weekly. So it's been playing out for quite some time. Started way back on the 18th of May, so almost a whole year this pattern's been playing out. So when this does break, it will break, and it'll show you a lot of good opportunities. But that's all the pairs that we were looking at. If you're struggling with anything, whether it be analysis or fundamental analysis, or just using TradingView and how to set up the charts, shoot a message to the Instagram page or reach out on the Facebook page, and one of us will get back to you and help you out with that. But I hope you're able to start understanding just roughly how we're looking at the markets, what the types of things that we're looking at, trying to trade a bit safer instead of just jumping in, because that's where the market really takes the money. If you're not really good at understanding the market fake outs and market structure and how it manages to trick people, then of course you will be one of those statistics of bad stories that the market seems to accumulate so fast. So again, if you have any questions, reach out, and we will see you in the next video, and we hope you have a good trading week ahead.